Hey guys, what's up? I'm Christian, that's Corey, and we are Super Comic Guru 9000, and we're here to review a One Piece manga chapter. Senor Pink is defeated, but we also get his backstory. Those all go hand in hand, actually. If someone's defeated for real, you get a backstory. And his was actually more emotionally invoking than I was expecting.
A lot more. I'm really shocked by this chapter. I honestly think that the battle between Senor Pink and his entire backstory might have been one of my favorite from all of Don Quixote's goons.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem I'm evil and I'm going to just be evil. Well, actually, let's be honest. They didn't get into why he's a pirate.
Not too much.
What they got into is why he dresses the way he dresses.
Which I'm really, it's not too often in One Piece where you have these characters who have these ridiculous designs where they outright just explain, alright, this is why this guy looks like a freaking weirdo. And I think that was really clever in how they tied it into his overall backstory and why Senor Pink himself is such a hard-boiled individual. But something that I think is really funny about the battle between him and Franky is how they've been repeating the same moves for months. They even bring that up. The Tontara are like, Franky, you've been suplexed 30 times. What's wrong with you?
Why are you still letting this happen?
Exactly. It's so ridiculous. But still, I love the action. I especially love the creativity of Senor Pink's attack where he's able to swim through the ground, where he grabs Franky and they swim up to the top of this castle tower where he jumps up in the air and does this massive suplex, which I can already imagine that in the anime, just the different camera angles, the boom, 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 boom. That's going to be so awesome. And this leads directly right into Senor Pink's backstory. Yeah, and Senor Pink had a wife and a kid, and unfortunately the kid dies of a fever while he's off pirating, but it seems like he's telling his wife he's a banker. And she ends up calling, she gets all investigative and calls the bank, and they're like, we've never heard of this guy. And then they have a big fight when there's a huge storm, and she ends up getting hit with a landslide because she runs outside all angry at him and wants to just get away, and she ends up being in a vegetable state. And to cheer her up, or to try to get some reaction out of her, Senor Pink puts on one of his kids' bonnets. And it doesn't. Does it seem like she gets a reaction, or like she? Well, the thing is, at first, I don't even believe it's intentional. He's just lamenting over the fact that his wife is now a vegetable, his child is dead. He's looking at his son's bonnet. He puts it on, and the minute he does that, she immediately has a smile on her face, and it's the only thing that will actually make her happy, even though she isn't really even saying anything. And first it starts out small. First he's just wearing the bonnet. Then he gets the pacifier. Then the dude's straight up wearing diapers. And he's even, taking the ridicule from everybody. It doesn't matter. He's doing everything in his power to honor his wife and his son. And I just think that's really clever how that's how he honors his son, by dressing as a big baby. And yet trying to be a little more honorable. This is probably the most honorable member of the Don Quixote family that I've seen. And even still, he's a pretty underhanded guy. But you can see that Franky highly respects him, even at the very end of the battle, after he just completely wails on him, and which is probably the coolest panel of this week's chapter, aside from the big attack that Senor Pink did. It seems like the Gatling punch has become the thing to do in One Piece right now.
Yeah, it's kind of like every character gets their own version of it. So, and Franky had the Iron Fist barrage or something like that. And it was the one thing, not really a complaint, but something I didn't really understand when reading this chapter is how did Franky understand his backstory? It seemed like, because they never actually talked, it's like he absorbed the backstory through his punches, which isn't that crazy. A lot of Naruto and Sasuke communicate when they battle. That's like they go to this.
They battle through their fists,
and they communicate through their fists. So that's not the craziest of ideas in anime. So I'm actually going to let that go. But I found that kind of interesting.
It's not even an anime either, and I really hate to be referencing this because I'm not a big fan of this franchise, but it's fresh in my mind because Nostalgia Critic has been doing Matrix Month.
Okay,
and he just did a review of the second one. I think it's Reloaded, Matrix Reloaded.
Yes.
And there's a scene in the movie where Neo fights against that one martial artist guy, and they just randomly start. Yeah, they just start fighting, and when it's all done, Neo's like, "Why did we have to do that?" And the guy's like, "Some people can only communicate by fighting."
Yes.
And, he made fun of that, obviously.
Of course.
But when I heard that, I was like, God, that's such a trope in anime all the time. That's like a total theme of Gundam build fighters.
People come to understandings through wailing on each other's face. That is just something that happens in anime all the time. I'm actually glad that fight is over. Because we got the most content out of that fight this week. Most of the time it's just them body slamming each other and punching each other. And there was a little bit of battle of ideology there, but not really. Franky wants to take down the Smile Factory, and Senor Pink is trying to stop him, and that's...
I mean, they certainly... they're trying to respect each other in that when they're constantly attacking each other, they're taking each other's hits, like, full on.
Yeah, they're like, I'm not going to block. I'm just going to stand here and take it, and then you give me yours, and then, you know, we'll just...
Which, you know, is stupid, but manly as hell.
Manly as hell.
Especially in anime and manga.
Does not work in real life. You shouldn't do that at all.
Despite that, though, there were a few other things in this week's chapter. A very short and kind of fillerish fluff scene at the very beginning with Leo and Mancherry. Basically, it's just reassuring us that Mancherry has a crush on Leo. There you go. Big shock there. The other thing is, there was a color panel this week, which I actually thought looked really cool. Again, it's just a group of the Straw Hat Pirates doing their thing. I just liked looking at Zoro riding around in a big shark buggy. Yeah, simple as that. And I just like the fact that there's little details in the pictures, like the fact that Franky's wearing this big orange jacket, which when it comes up to his actual arms, they still look all blocky and everything. I just think that's really nice attention to detail.
What do you want to see next week?
It's so hard to say. I mean, now
there's a lot of good fights left.
All right, now this is the one. Now that we got Franky and Senor Pink out of the way, I'd say we're pretty much down to the biggest fights, which means we got to get some Zoro versus Pika.
That's something I want to see really bad.
I mean, just anything with Zoro is going to be amazing. I really want to see him go all out against Pika and just cut him to pieces, and I can't wait to see what the twist is going to be behind that, because he's such a massive opponent, and this is obviously going to be the best time to pull out a brand new technique for Zoro, make it really, really flashy, because he's a part of, like, the big three. You know, Sanji's out of commission. They're dealing with Big Mom right now. That leaves Zoro and Luffy. And Luffy is still currently dealing with Bellamy, who's bouncing around the walls and annoying the shit out of us. So we don't know where that's going to go. And eventually, you know, it's going to be Luffy versus Doflamingo, which is going to be epic. So I'm excited. Not until the end.
What other big fights left? We got the...
Diamante versus Kyros.
That is probably what's coming up next.
Actually, yeah. Now that you think of it, that will probably be the next.
And then you get the Zoro versus Pika, and then
no disrespect to Kyros, because he's like the main character of this arc and sort of what is like tying everything together.
Yeah, but Zoro is a main character of One Piece.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's a little different.
And usually him and Luffy tend to have the most flashiest, biggest battles of every arc.
And think about it. Law was able to cut the whole fortress in half I forgot the name of that arc. The icy arc, you know. With,
Punk Hazard.
Punk Hazard.
The one where the babies were constantly running through the hallways.
Yes, the babies through the hallways arc. The hallway.
Every time I talk to people about Punk Hazard, they're like, oh yeah, isn't that the one where all the big babies just run for like 30 episodes straight? And then Luffy fights Caesar Clown? Yeah, it was okay.
But that's the point. But the point I'm trying to make is Law was able to do that, and he is powerful, and he's a swordsman. But Zoro is definitely next level powerful. Like Zoro could cut that whole island in half, you know. So I'm very excited to see him try, because we've only seen the Straw Hats have to try for one move. We haven't had to see Luffy try in like a battle yet. You know, like he was just dodging attacks by Caesar Clown. He wasn't like, he just tried once and then he used Grizzly Magnum and took him out.
And honestly, I still think Luffy still hasn't had like a really, really tough battle in the time skip portion of the series. I mean, when you really look at the villains that we've had to deal with so far, I completely agree. You know, Hody Jones, while a really interesting villain, Luffy just destroyed him in every possible way.
And boring all at the same time.
Yeah,
okay.
In some senses. And then, you know, you have Caesar Clown, who was defeated and captured, and here we are at Dressrosa, and Doflamingo is a villain who's been built up since the beginning of the series, so this is the author's chance to just go crazy and get us really excited, and then deflate that excitement because One Piece is on break next week.
Okay, so I say this one was a 4 out of 5 for me.
I'm going to say 4 out of 5, too, only because I wish they would have cut the whole Larry Mancherry scene.
Yes.
And added maybe a little more action between Franky and Senor Pink. That being said, the action between the two was awesome. I love the barrage of punches. I especially love that massive jumping up in the air suplex. And I actually really liked his backstory, which I typically don't care for that stuff, but it was handled really well in this chapter, and I cannot wait to see it in the anime version.
I am just excited that the fight is over, and I thought that the backstory was handled really well, like you said, and I'm glad that they're just finishing fights and we're moving on. Also, one little thing. What were they discussing? You know the lady that was defeated by Mancherry? She was trying to say something What was she saying? I totally forgot that.
I completely forgot about that too. It had something to do with the healing powers of Mancherry.
Oh no, where it decreases your lifespan if you use it.
Yeah, so it's not like Dende where she just gets like a jail out of free card where she can just keep doing it left and right. Apparently it is going to have some sort of an effect on her character, which I'm sure the fact that they brought that up will probably be a plot point later on.
There you go, guys. We mentioned it, so you can't put it in the comments that we didn't mention it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure and give us a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. There's a button over here, as Corey says. And if you want to donate to the channel, please use our PayPal link or just buy something on Amazon to our Amazon Associates link. That helps out our channel as well, and you don't even have to do anything besides buy the stuff you're going to buy. And make sure to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Okay, guys, until next time, Super Comic Guru 9000, out.
Hard-boiled, bitches.